Tales of Greatest F Remastered is the remastered version of Tales of Greatest F, which originally came out on the PS3, but before that was a Japan-only Wii title. And so far to date, this is the best remastering that has come out for a Tales of game, and it makes me happy for future Tales of games getting remastered. The main premise that Asbel ends up meeting is an amnesiac girl, who he decides to name Sophie after these local flowers called Sophia. Later, he ends up befriending the Prince of Windor, the region they reside in, named Richard, and the three make a friendship pact. There is more to this, but since the game's prologue, I'll now just skip over to the time skip of the game that takes place 7 years later, where now characters are now reunited, but some things aren't quite the same as they were when they were children, such as, despite meeting Sophie again, she once again doesn't know who she is and doesn't recognize her friends, and despite meeting Richard is not acting right, like something's off about him, and this is where the plot goes forward with the game, with the friendship pact these three made being one of the most crucial things about the game's story. Right off the bat, I want to say that when I put this game on PS3, I wasn't big on the game's story, but this time the remaster, I liked it way more than I did on the PS3. I don't know what exactly changed. For some reason, I just was more negative about it on the PS3, but this time around, enjoyed the story more, and especially enjoyed Asbel as the protagonist more than I ever did before. So before I would have said the characters were hit and miss, now I say, no, they're pretty good, except for one character who mostly just has a very bad introduction that is meant to be goofy, but there's funny goofy, and then this is just awkward, uncomfortable, kind of goofy. So there's one character that gets their going for the introduction, but you could have done it better. Before I get into gameplay, the game immediately starts with prompting you with the Great Shop. Now, in many Tales of games, there's a Great Shop for New Game Plus where you get bonus benefits for your New Game Plus playthrough. But in this remastering, they give you the option to just basically get a bulk of the stuff right off the bat, and you should in fact take it, because if you don't want to use it, you can turn it off, and when you use it later, you can turn it back on. So you just take whatever the game gives you. Granted, there's some that you can't turn off, like the increased CC from the start, or the doubling the item limit from 15 to 30, but the offering here, most of it, like the XP multiplier, you can just turn off and use it when you need to. So honestly, you just take that stuff with you rather than just reject it. It's pretty cool the game gives it to the front, although unlike what I predicted, you can't skip the game's first arc on the first playthrough. You have to play through the childhood section on the first playthrough. This is one of those things that, if you're a returning fan, you probably don't want to do this, because it's like a 4-hour prologue and you don't get to experience the full gameplay during those four hours. Speaking of gameplay, this is where Tales of Grace's F freaking shines, because the combat system here is one of my, if not my absolute favorite in the Tales of franchise. So a lot of things that go into it. First off, you have the A arts and B arts. So the A arts are moves that characters can do in an entire combo chain, figure out what direction analog stick they're holding, and it can pretty much be done to pretty much get more rapid fire hits in, and pretty much just do like more neutral attacks. Not using sort of elemental, you're not using magic, you're using more basic attacks. And then you have the B arts, which is more of your basic special skills for basically like more magical attacks. And I love the fact that these attacks can be comboed into each other. They can just do a combo using the same skill over and over. Like a lot of the attacks in this game just flow into each other great. Granted, there are some more ideal combos you can do, because some may have enough delay to an enemy can pretty much start blocking mid-combo, so you do want to pretty much get acquainted with the skills you have. Now, there is no MP meter for skills or anything in this game, so you can pretty much just use whatever skill you want, including even healing and resurrection skills, but you might just fling into a combo. You can actually then do stuff like shorten the casting time for the skill, so there is an incentive to want to have even a mage get in there in combat and do things with their A arts as well. So that's a pretty cool system. But then you have what I love so much, is the freaking dashes in this game. You will want to dash a lot, because it is faster than just regular movement. Never use the free run, because it is so worthless, because it's slow and uses CC to use. So you're better off using that CC to just dash around, because you move a very good distance very quickly, and if you time it perfectly, you can then negate all damage from an attack and also get CC for doing so you can immediately then counter it yourself, especially if you were low on CC yourself, so you couldn't really attack back. Now you can, and the enemy's wide open for the picking. It is insane how there could be entire full screen attacks in this game that you could just completely negate all the damage to with perfect time dashes in this game, and it is freaking cool. Hell, you can be in a corner and still keep dashing to the side, and it still counts even though there's no physical space for you to even move. Oh my god, the freaking maneuvering system of the dashes is just super cool. I know many will see it as limiting since the dashes only move in 4 directions, but it is the most efficient way to pretty much move in this game, and there's just a lot of benefits to doing so. Granted, you're not really good at timing the dashes to order to negate damage, you can still do stuff like block or just move out of the way of the attack entirely. But Grace's F is a game that rewards being on the offensive a lot, especially since the game has a mechanic called the LF meter, where it can sway towards your party's advantage or enemy advantage. With an enemy's advantage, enemies will all have super armor, so they won't be stunned. But here's a fun thing. If you source stunning an enemy while the LF meter activates and keep the combo going, you can keep that enemy, even bosses, in the hit stun position throughout their entire LF meter and just negate the entire benefits they would get. And they'll still have super armor, but they can't change their animation until enough time has passed so they're out of hit stun, so you can just keep them locked in hit stun throughout the entire goddamn thing and pretty much ruin any benefit the enemy had. Which is just freaking hilarious to do, and I love it. When the LF meter's in the player advantage, there is no longer a CC cost for your moves, so you can just attack to your heart's content, especially if you got all the entire party all going in on the attack. And you have access to Mystic Arts if you have them unlocked, which are basically your most powerful moves in the game. And there's even something that I've only seen Grace's F, is that if you actually finish off the final boss with a Mystic Arts, then there'll actually be special dialogue from each party member towards the final boss, depending on who finishes them, which is something that I never seen the Tales of game do, and that is still super amazing, and I love the fact that that's included. Here's some cool things that Grace F got during the remastering process. One thing is that you now have the option of Japanese dialogue, which is cool, and they also now added in subtitles for combat. So before, combat and the post-battle screens did not have subtitles, but now they do, and sometimes they even highlight which character is speaking, which is super cool that they included. Not only that, there's also the fact that now for this remastering, they include the DLC from the original, but sadly not all the DLC. Any crossover DLC content didn't get included, and it is baffling. Like, there were DLC content included in the original for stuff like actually a Miku outfit for Sophie, or a dot hack GU outfit for freaking Asbel, Code Geass outfits as well. Lots of stuff that just didn't get added in, and it is baffling, like, why? Like, okay, so they make a one and freaking Code Geass, okay, I can see because Liza's saying, but Bandai Namco, you own the hack. What do you mean you can't put in the GU outfit? You freaking own the hack. What the hell? In case you think, well, just outfit can't be that big, no, this also includes post-battle quotes for the outfit as well, so you have fun interactions that just are also not available as a result because the DLC is not in the game, and it's just baffling why they would just exclude the DLC like that. I just don't get it, because what I was hoping for, and it's like, nope, that is still forever a Japanese PS3 exclusive thing, as was never got brought over, and now never will be brought over. Another cool improvement in the remastering process is that in many Tales of games, there'll be points where there are special story events that you can see, but there would be nothing to really highlight that it's even available, and so some people will suggest, oh, play certain Tales of games with a non-spoiler guide, because of how many just these little moments that add to a narrative that just aren't available. But in this remastering, they actually add an indicator with a little clock that highlights that, hey, there is a limited time event that you can witness right now if you go. And that is super cool to include, and none of the other remasters actually included that. That is super amazing, so that way people don't miss those moments that add to the story. That is freaking awesome! Another cool addition to remastering is the ability to just unlock certain side stuff early on, whether it be stuff like titles or even costumes from titles you get, just immediately unlock them. But some of the stuff there is even stuff like, oh, the cards for the Magna Carta card game. That card game can go suck my ass. And this just the fact that you can unlock all the cards for the menu rather than need to go find them in the world, which is super cool. Side content of the Greatest F can feel barren, mostly since a lot of it is just fetching items for whether it be in requests or for characters. But while there's a lot of that, there is also so many freaking optional boss fights in this game that are just super cool and they're just filled to the brim with, whether it be just optional boss fights in the main game, the optional cool boss fights you get in the post game or in the post game dungeon as well. Like, there is a lot. That's why I like the combat in this game being great, and there being many places for you to just do the combat and just freaking have fun with it. It is super cool. As I mentioned before, there is an epilogue story section being Lineage and Legacies. That is essentially the F arc for why the game is called Tales of Grace's F, and not just Tales of Grace's. And that arc is super cool. Like I said, there is a party member who's exclusive to it, but there's also a new mechanic added in that whole entire story section, and if you complete it, you can then carry that mechanic back with you into the main game as well, which is also freaking cool that you let you do that, because now you can add even more to the combat as well, which is just super freaking cool. What I also want to give shout out to this game is the post-battle conversations. Because Greatest F probably has some of, if not the best, post-battle conversations with dynamic between the party members, and just the kind of combinations you can have for conversation depending on who's in the party. Hell, you can have similar end-battle conversations that play out differently depending on who's in the party as well, which is cool. There are also some that only play during specific parts of the game, so you knew that, hey, this section will have this certain party formation, so let's make a whole entire end conversation thing based around this specific party dynamic.
We are awesome! We are awesome!
Stop! You'll step on them!
Man, it's cold. It's terrible.
Yeah.
There's even one I know people love bringing up that's in the epilogue portion that references something that you would only know about if you if you beat the final boss using a certain character's mystic art that would get a certain piece of dialogue, and then they reference that dialogue in a post-battle skit in the epilogue portion, which is freaking cool how the kind of detail they go for these post-battle conversations and Graces, which is just super great. When it comes to some of the negatives I have for Grace's F, there are still like there's a certain point in the story where it can feel like the game's kind of just dragging a bit and not getting to the point. Like, you're doing something for the plot, but it feels like despite what you're doing, not much is actually getting done, so it feels weird that this portion was here and it's gonna still be here in the remaster. It's also gripes when it comes to the post-game dungeon, specifically just how high of a level it wants you to be to be able to clear it, and also the fact that you gotta keep getting items that have higher and higher monetary quality in order to progress through the dungeon as well. So that entire freaking grind session for that has not changed in the remaster, so you have an issue with it in the original, it's still gonna be here. So negatives like that were in the PS3 version will still be here in the remaster. But the remaster does try to alleviate problems, such as I know that people had issues trying to know where to go in the original, and so they included a little arrow that tells you at all points where main progress is, which doesn't seem like much, but there are some dungeons in this game that are not the best design, so trying to figure out where to go forward can feel like a crapshoot, especially one early on in the game where, despite not being a big place, you're constantly going back and forth throughout it, and it can feel like you're just not making progress and know which direction to go, which spot you need to be in. But now with this, you're able to know where to go. Hey, if you don't like it, you can turn it off as well. there's also that option as well. You don't like it. There is also an infamous difficulty spike in this game, a certain boss fight, that I thought, okay, let me see if this difficulty spike really here, or is it because as my first time playthrough I had issues with it. And no, it's kind of the fact that there are some bosses, it really happens, there are some bosses that can basically just pull out super armor out their ass. So it can feel like at certain points, you're just doing a combo, and all of a sudden the character just stops taking stun and just starts attacking you, blocking you back, or it can feel like there's never an opening to actually attack them because it comes to have super armor. And it's a very rare thing, but that particular infamous boss has that problem where they'll just out of nowhere suddenly be unable to take stun, and it can be very annoying, and that's why the boss is so difficult. They also have someone in backup constantly. If the backup is an issue, it's the fact that out of nowhere they can just suddenly go, nah, I'm not taking damage, I'm not taking stun, no thanks. And there's other bosses like that, but it's like very rarely done. It's not a constant thing. Generally you can tell when a character stops having super armor, he's able to pretty much retaliate fully back, or characters who, if they add super armor during a combo, they won't break out of it, they'll still be in the stun state. So that particular boss fight, and like one other I can think of, that's a post-game boss fight, those bosses I can think of, yeah, I can see why people would have issues with them, because the super armor feels like it's just there to just make the fight way more difficult without any actual rhyme or reason. Another thing I said before is that you can't skip the prologue section, so you don't have the prologue section from the PS3 version, original, then you're not going to like it here either, because it's going to be basically identical, except I guess now you can have EXP modifiers on from the get-go if you want, but you can't skip it on your first playthrough, especially since it is vital for the story, but gameplay-wise, you're not doing a whole lot because you don't have access to a whole lot. Overall, I like Grace's F on the PS3, so much to the point that I actually platinumed it. Do not platinum Grace's F. It is a pain in the ass to do. So, of course, I enjoyed the remaster, but I also enjoyed my time with the game more than I did on the PS3 version, and not just because of the remaster improvements, but also because this time around I just enjoyed aspects of the story more than the characters. So overall, Grace's F is just a great game. I'm glad it got remastered, and the fact that this remaster also led to the company Tosei stay in business, saying that they're in danger of bankruptcy, but that getting free commission to remaster Grace's F help save their company, and I hope that means they will be in charge of remastering more Tales of games as well, because that would be freaking awesome as well. Hats off to them, because this is the best remaster, and we've come so far from Vesperia remaster that was good. It was, you know, kind of what you expect. Symphonia remaster that had issues at launch, and someone say still have issues, to now Grace's F Remastered, which is absolutely fantastic, and the stuff they added in is great, along with being able to just get access to stuff in the game early, if you so choose to do so, which is freaking fantastic. Overall, like I said, Grace's F is a great Tales of game, and it's now even better with the remaster as well. Freaking amazing.